Ladies and gentlemen, dreamers and doers, entrepreneurs of all ages, welcome back to Kinetic Customs, and this is part 2 of the Starcraft 2 race NMD 1 custom shoe designs that I did on my live stream yesterday, which was Wednesday the 5th of October, or Wednesday the 3rd of October, I'm sorry. So, the second shoe that I designed was the infamous Zerg shoe. Now, the Zerg are kind of a meme, really, to be completely honest with you. There's a term called Zerg rushing, where basically in the Zerg race, whenever you play, there's a ton and a ton and a ton of little itty-bitty guys that kind of swarm around and hit you. They're called Zerglings or Banelings if you upgrade them, and they shoot acid. But from the very get-go, like from the minute you start playing against the Zerg, you're constantly battling with the fear of, oh, what if I get Zergling rushed? What if I see all these little red dots blip up on my mini-map, and from there you're toast. So, and it only gets worse as you play on, because obviously those Zerglings can evolve and they become bigger, like Hydralisks and Queens. So they just get bigger and badder, and it's always an uphill battle playing against the Zerg. So, to celebrate the swarm hive mentality and to pay tribute to the race of the Zerg, I've designed a shoe based off of the Adidas NMD R1 silhouette, and I hope you guys enjoy. Let's cut right to the time lapse. We are, ladies and gentlemen, in the time lapse. So, as you can see, I started off with a few reference images. I have the Zerg logo and then a picture of the hatchery from the actual game Starcraft 2. And very clearly you can see the motif here that we're going for is purple, and then the lower will actually be brown, but we'll get to that here in a second. So, starting off by painting with a big broad brush, just covering everything in color, and then messing with the opacity so you can just barely see the mesh so it still looks like an actual shoe. And then we go in and do some cleanup and clean up the areas where we overbrushed. And yeah, there we go, base layer of the shoe complete. And here I go cleaning up the sole and then the laces as well here in a second. The white lace motif is kind of my aesthetic, so we'll get to that here in a second. And then I start on the lower and I cut that out and get it all browned up. So you can, the primary color here, like I said, is purple, but the secondary color is brown. You can see with a lot of the Zerg anatomy and like the units, the overlapping color is definitely brown, and it makes sense because they're bugs. So yeah, I decided to do brown for the lower here. Cleaning up the accents here, the little grill looking thing in the back, and then the Adidas blip there as well. And then cleaning up the line between the upper and the lower because it's a little bit dark. We'll get back to that here in a second. Here I am cleaning up the laces, and I think I do the lace guards here as well, or the lace locks. We'll see. Can't even remember what I streamed last night, or what I had for breakfast last night. Breakfast last night, that sounds fun. What I had for dinner last night. So, getting back to it, all those shenanigans aside, the accent color I decided to go with is like an acid neon green, because why not? It's the Zerg, and like I said, if you look at a picture of a Baneling, they have little brood sacs in the back, or sacs in the back of their body that are neon green, and they have this glowy acid kind of look to them. So I figured green is a very suitable color for a race of insects that go around infecting people. So here I am cleaning up everything, cleaning up the lace locks and the back part with a little plastic piece in the back, and doing a little bit of fine cleaning up here, and getting the part where the lace meets the lace lock all sort of cleaned up there so it looks cohesive, tweaking the opacity just a little bit to get the look that I'm going for. It's a lot of back and forth. I've done a lot of messing with opacity, painting, mess with opacity, back and forth, so you get the look that you want. And then came the challenging part. I was trying to decide what to do with the accent lines. If you saw the Protoss shoe, you know that we did this in gold, but with the Zerg it's a little bit more tricky. And I believe we do brown here. Oh, we decided not to, so ixnay that. And then we decided on, I believe it is black. The black mixed with the purple underneath kind of gave this really dark purple color, and it turned out right. So in the beginning I started with just base purple, but with the opacity turned down it became kind of a magenta hue, or like a really light purple, but I was going for like a darker purple. So what I had to figure out was if I use another color like black over purple, then it kind of gives this cast when you bring the opacity down, so you can see right here as I'm saying it, so it has this kind of dark purple color to it, and that's really the look that I was going for all along. So once I had that figured out, I went and put that in there and cleaned it all up, and then cleaned up the line work without the purple layer there so I could see exactly where the meshes were. I used the smudge tool just to get rid of some of the hard edges or the very clear edges where I used the eraser tool. And then I take another hit at it, or another stab at it. I do the 3 stripes, and I was trying to figure out what was going awry, but after some trial and error, I basically figured out what was going on, and I figured out that I wasn't using black, I was using purple again. So it was a long day yesterday, and when I got on stream, I was kind of brain locking towards the end, so little mistake there, but I quickly fixed it after I figured out what was going on. Again, using the smudge tool just to remove some of those hard edges and clean up the line work just a little bit, and then toggling with the opacity just a little bit more to get it looking like a shoe as much as it is a piece of art. So you want the colors to shine through, but you want to also give the illusion that it's actually a shoe, so you want the material to show through in the bottom layer as well. So that's what I'm doing when I'm toggling the opacity back and forth. Finally, we'll go in and we will add the text, and I was struggling with the text here. I wanted to do something kind of alien or something like really, I don't want to say dirty, but kind of brutal and hard and edgy, and I couldn't find a font that I could really use. You can see me go through just about every single one here, and nothing really struck my fancy. So I somewhat humorously actually landed on the exact same font that I used for the Protoss shoe. I didn't realize it until after the fact, but yeah, just crush that in there so it fits in, and then last but not least, we'll go and grab the Zerg logo, and I had a couple issues with finding one online that was transparent in the background, so I imported that one, but it had a little bit of a shadow, so I didn't want to use it. And then finally I found this one, and I figured, hey, it's white, I can just dye it or use the paint bucket tool on it once I finish up positioning it. And just like the Protoss shoe, I put it on the toe box just slightly on the outside of the shoe so it shows. And finishing touches, getting everything cleaned up, and before you know it, we have a shoe. I ended up doing a lot more touch-up work on this one just because the purple is a little bit more telling of a color. With blue and yellow, it's, I guess, a little bit easier to work with, but when I went back and I looked at the renderings of each shoe, it was clear to me that the purple shoe was definitely the one that showed the most like marks on it, or like the most eraser marks or proof that I had been editing it. Lastly, we put in some flavor text and the Kinetic logo, and we have ourselves a shoe, friends.